Yeah.
Oh, that didn't come up. Ooh, I might get in for.
Okay, now I think we should be live.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah,
Oh, that didn't come up. Ooh, I might get.
Yep, okay. Yep,
Wait,
we are
wait.
live now. Sorry, everybody, for those technical difficulties. Oh boy, I was having some problems. I was planning on doing a different setup where I actually had a little vocalizer capturing our audio in the middle on the table here. So it would be specific for me and you, but apparently regular OBS didn't want to, so Streamlabs is my go-to for now. So, also, just for anybody watching, don't let Adam B know I'm using Streamlabs.
What is wrong with Streamlab?
Okay. Okay, so Adam doesn't really like Streamlabs. I think that has to do with it, like the customization kind of being piss poor compared to regular OBS.
Oh my god, man!
He is very nitpicky about Streamlabs. So
Really?
every time I use it, or every time I try to get him to help me out with Streamlabs, he just tells me to use OBS.
I'll stick with Streamlabs. I'm good with Streamlabs. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm perfect with that.
Yeah, I mean it's simpler. You don't have to deal with as much headaches as you do with OBS. So yeah,
You
uh,
know?
yeah. But thanks for coming on to my first show, or my first show back on YouTube.
I was gonna say it's been a long time, man, since you've been on and you've actually had your own show. I should say you've been on, guest on a couple of my shows, and I've heard you being on other people's shows and that. But yeah, it's good to have you back in that.
Yeah, it's been like, ooh, I mean, it hasn't been that long since I last streamed. It's been a couple months, of course, but like doing the podcast scene, yeah, it's been a while because like the last show I did was Extinction Level Gaming, which I am going to be keeping. This isn't like a replacement show, so I just wanted to do this for fun.
I don't blame you, dude. This is a good show and all that.
And to be honest, it seems less of a heck than having to just cover gaming news, because that's a very competitive market when it comes to podcasting.
I think it's very boring.
Yeah, I feel you there. I feel you.
Really gonna get me started today on this, and the list of questions you got, I'm like, oh boy.
Oh yeah, one of the questions I asked there, huh? You already noticed.
No, I already know how to answer all these questions.
All right, good. So you want to kick off with the first question then, since for the audience here. So, the first question, as you saw, as I was coming up with, was what was your first console that you actually started gaming on?
First console was the Intellivision.
Really, the Intellivision.
The Intellivision. My dad got the Intellivision for us. I think it might have been 80 or 81. That's how old I am. I'm 48 years old. So, he got the first or the Intellivision, and football. I think there was football, Atari. Atari was later on, but football and oh my god, I can't think of that Activision game right now. It's Pitfall in that. Played a lot of sports games on that. That's how I'll answer that one.
Oh wow! So it wasn't even the Atari that was your first console then. Okay.
No.
Yeah.
No, I've had. Let me see here. Growing up in that, my dad got the Intellivision, and then my grandfather was getting us into the whole gaming thing, while he was watching us and that. So he got the Atari, but then he went and took that back and got the ColecoVision. And it was the Intellivision and ColecoVision that were basically taking up my time from one house to the next.
So which one did you actually prefer the most?
Coleco, because my grandfather, he went out and he bought. I've told this story before, but I'll tell this real quick. He would go out and he would buy all the games. I mean, he would just buy a mess of games and that. But what he would do is you sit there and say, man, that has to be expensive and everything. How he did it was he would go and he would buy, say, 4 or 5 games. He'd take them, bring them home. We would sit there and say, all right, we like this one or we like that one. The other ones that we didn't like, he would go, and how he did it was he would cut the plastic very, very lightly to where he could flip it up, take the game out, and then if we didn't like it, he would put it back into the box and then seal the plastic back up where it was originally glued. So it looked like it was never touched. So he would go and get his money back. When he got his money back, he would go and buy a couple other ones. So he really wouldn't be spending a whole bunch of money. I mean, I sat there the one night when he was at his desk and he was doing it. I'm like, this is actually smart. The man's smart, man. So...
Ooh, yeah, I can imagine gaming was pretty expensive back then. Like, I mean, I heard stories that like games were pretty pricey. But, like, how expensive were they? Do you think compared to like now, considering inflation?
I think if I'm remembering right, I mean, anybody could wind up looking it up in that, but I think they were like $40 or $50 for an Atari or Intellivision, ColecoVision, that. As for inflation today, my God, I can only imagine how much they would be today. My wife, she went and she was over at her mom and dad's house, and she came home. This was about maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago. She comes home and she gives me 3 of these bags. Here it has the Sega Genesis, the NES, and the Atari. And I think there was probably about maybe 15 to 17 Atari cartridges. And I'm like, I wonder what I could wind up getting, for these cartridges. I haven't taken them over to the retro place yet, but I'm going to get rid of. The NES and the Sega Genesis, I'm definitely keeping because I got stuff to hook it up to the TV and, do all that mumbo jumbo. But I mean, they were $40, $50 until Nintendo came out. So
we're just messing around with my stream layout here since did have to do everything last second. But yeah, but all right. Yeah, I honestly never played on those consoles, so I don't know what type of games were on there. Because all I'm used to is like stuff from Atari and SNES. So, I mean, yeah, hearing the Coleco is honestly it's just shocking.
Oh, I love the ColecoVision. I loved it. When I went over to my grandfather's house, I mean, I don't know how many times I've sat there and was like to my parents, I want to go sleep over Pop's house. My Pop's house and my mom.
So is that the house that had the console for you?
Yes. The television was, of course, with my parents. I didn't do like a mess of gaming on the television because my dad and I mean, that was, we would play together, but it was over at my grandfather's house that's where I did a majority of my gaming and everything, especially when Nintendo and the Genesis came out. He went and he got myself and my cousin. He bought 2 Nintendos and 2 Genesis. And he sat there and said, which one do you want? The other one's going to stay here for you guys. So we both picked a Nintendo. He took the Genesis, one of them back, and then kept the other one. But didn't buy a whole bunch of games. And then he later returned the Genesis back and then got another Nintendo because that's what we were playing on constantly.
All right, so I guess that leads me into my next question. What was the first game you actually played?
Intellivision's football.
Really? A football game?
Callie, I'm going to tell you what. My history of gaming began and went all the way up until the I think it was like 2005, 2006. It was all sports games. I played a ton, almost every single Madden, basketball, football, hockey, soccer, tennis, everything that was sports related. I played it.
So, like, what made that appeal to you to like actually play as your first game? Or it was just the fact that it was the only thing that you had to play?
Oh, I just love football. I'm a huge football nut.
Fair enough.
College football. I'm bigger into college than I am into the pro scene, just because just the way college football is. I just loved my sports games, and football was the first, and that was the first one. Then it was baseball after that. So those were the two sports that I played a lot, growing up and everything.
All right. I mean, honestly, my first game was Ratchet and Clank, so I think I was blessed that I actually had some good games to play. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with sports games, but I don't know. It was just kind of boring for me back in the day.
Well, see the sports games back then aren't like the sports games that they are now, and that has nothing to do with the graphics. It was like here is football, baseball, soccer, and you wouldn't get anything for the next five years. And then when the new console came out, okay, here's football, baseball, basketball, whatever, and there you go. And then it wasn't like you have Madden every year, 2K every year. Like, one of the best games that best basketball games I ever played was not Double Dribble. It was actually Jordan vs. Bird. I got that for my birthday, and I mean, I broke that game. That game just didn't work no more because I just played the hell out of it.
Really?
But Tecmo Bowl was a huge one, and then Tecmo Super Bowl was another one. When I got the NES, which was, I think it was 86 or 87, I got it. It basically a couple months right when it came out. I had that all the way up until 97. I didn't get a PlayStation until 97. So,
wow.
Yeah. But see, that was late teens, early 20s. I didn't give a crap about gaming and all that. I wanted to be out. I wanted, your girl hunting and all this other stuff. You turn 21, then you're going to the bars and blah, 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 blah. So I didn't spend a whole bunch of time gaming. That's why reading your questions, I'm like, okay, well, that's going to go really good later on.
Huh. That's actually an interesting note. Huh.
Yeah.
So, So, I guess I'll just jump around questions because I wasn't really planning on having in specific order. So, I guess why what got you into gaming then?
What got me into gaming?
Yeah.
My father and grandfather.
Really?
They bought the consoles, and it was like, wow, this is actually pretty cool. Being able to sit here and play sports games, but then Super Pitfall came out. I was able to play that. Pac-Man, of course. You got to throw that in there. There was a Ghostbusters game there, Missile Command, for Atari, just Asteroids, Centipede, all that kind of stuff. Because the thing is it was more, I'm going to say it was more my grandfather, not trying to put down my dad, but both my parents, they were working as much as they could and everything. And I would go over to my grandfather's house, and he's like, all right, let's go over to the mall. And where I live now, and actually back then, a lot of people consider, or they look at Minnesota as having the biggest mall in America, and technically it's the one that I live 5 minutes away from, store-wise. It's the biggest mall in the United States. We would go over there to Kitty City, if anybody ever remembers that. Everybody remembers, Toys R Us and that. But we would go over, doing that. Over at the mall, I think there was at least 3 or 4 arcades over there. So that's where I was getting all my gaming before I get all going, and then we come back and I play a lot more Kung Fu, and that's where I first played Mortal Kombat, Operation Wolf. Trying to think all kinds of gun games over there. You're sitting there and you're shooting looking like a gun, and that I played Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I had more of an experience through the arcade than I did actually sitting at home, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. So, I guess after transitioning from this question to my next would be, what was the game that actually made you fall in love with gaming? If you were transitioning out of gaming, and just into as you were saying, trying to find some girls, stuff like that, trying to go out there into the real world. What game kind of brought you back in and made you realize, hey, gaming's something great that I actually really enjoy?
Let me see here. All right. This is how I'll answer that. Like I told you, was into all these sports games. When I got the PlayStation, it was all about Madden and NCAA football. I think it was yesterday. Worry Ward sat there and put out that, and a friend of mine actually sent me something about this before I saw it through Worry Ward. And thank that person. But what got me back? I was always a gamer. It was just more of a casual gamer. I mean, I played Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, games like that. But what got me back into, I'm going to say, really gaming was Scarface for
the PS2.
For PS2, yeah.
Ooh, that was a good one. I actually just recently started to emulate games, and that was a game I heard was really good. So I actually emulated that game, and
I loved it.
So what about it did you actually fall in love with? Was it the voice acting, the gameplay, or the story, or what was it?
Okay, I got laid off in 2007. And what happened is I'm sitting there, I'm like, what the hell am I going to wind up doing? And I already played Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and I really enjoyed that. I played State of Emergency, which I enjoyed that too. But I never watched the movie Scarface ever until I think it was 2006. And even to this day, I still have not seen any of the Godfathers. I own them. I just have not sat down to watch them yet, and I will watch them before I die. So hopefully it's very soon.
You're not the only one that's actually hasn't seen Godfather. I actually haven't seen it either.
Yeah, but if you actually look at it and your age compared to mine, I mean, somebody
But the thing is, I'm studying film, so I should see something like that because stuff like The Godfather has cultural impact in the film industry.
Okay. Now, see, you're exactly right. You better get your ass and go out and watch that Godfather. Damn it! If that's what you're going to school for, damn, dude, you gotta go and.
I know. That's actually why I recently bought the Godfather game for the PS3, actually, so I can try to get into Godfather itself.
See, I just recently watched the entire Sopranos series, and I never had any interest in that until recently. So, but going back to Scarface, I watched Scarface the movie, and then my cousin, he sat there and he bought Scarface the game, and I'm sitting there and I'm playing it at his house, and I'm like, yo, I gotta buy this game. I just cannot stop playing this game. And just like he sat there and said, whoever was doing Al Pacino's voice, I thought was pretty decent. It wasn't exactly like Al Pacino, but they had a good character doing it in that. Just the whole vibe and the scenery and especially the music. The music was fantastic. I mean, you had Motorhead, Ace of Spades, you had Blondie. I can't remember the song from Blondie, but there was a lot of good music, and it reminded you of Grand Theft Auto. It's like,
well, yeah, that was the generation like when Grand Theft Auto hit big, every game wanted to be Grand Theft Auto.
yeah, and I'm like, this is completely great. Now the thing is, I went back yesterday, like I was saying with my friend and Worry Wart about the PlayStation 2 people sitting out there. I sat there and I went and tweeted back to Worry. I said, I was out at 11 o'clock the night before waiting in line for a PlayStation 2. By 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm freezing my ass off, sitting on concrete. Sitting out there. I literally had to call my dad. Went at around 5 o'clock. I think it might have been 4:30, and told him, you got to bring blankets. You got to bring, some kind of coffee or a hot drink or something like that. I am absolutely freezing. And he showed up because if you got out of line, you had to go all the way back to the end of it. And these people were sitting there, and it's like, oh my God, GameStop had, a midnight, launch. I'm like, why did Best Buy do that? They made us wait till 10 o'clock. And the guy that was sitting next to me worked for Best Buy. And I'm like, dude, why isn't they doing like a midnight launch? They're like, it's just upper management. I'm like, this is unbelievable. But I burned that console out. I completely burned that thing out. That thing was smoking. I was freaking out because I played so much Scarface on it. And I had to go, because of me being laid off, I had to go and see if I could get trade-in credit from GameStop. They gave me like $25 for a used one. So I bought a used one, brought it home, finished the game off. And then I'm calling my buddy, Darth, and I'm like, yo, is there any other games? He's like, come up. He says, I'm going to let you borrow one of the greatest games I ever played. I'm like, all right. I says, I'll be up, this day. I get up there. He hands me God of War. And I'm like, dude, you were sitting here playing this. I didn't give a rat's ass about this thing. He's like, play it. He says, I'm telling you, play it. And I grabbed it from him. I took it home. Sat there, put it in, and it's one of the greatest franchises ever in gaming. That's just my opinion, but I mean, that game was unbelievable, and I played that. I think I beat it literally a week before 2 came out. As soon as I beat it, I ran down to GameStop and I pre-ordered the second one. And I'm like, yo, I got to have the second one. I came back, and the messed up thing was, I'm like, watch, this game is going to come out and I'm going to get called back to work, because I want to be laid off more and not get called back to work. And the day before it came out, or 2 days before it came out, I got called back to go into work, because games used to actually come out on Tuesdays, not Fridays. Games used to release on Tuesdays. So I got a call Sunday night saying, hey, we want you back to work. This is where you're going. I'm like, damn it, man. I just wanted to stay home and play God of War 2. So that happened also in 2009. So.
All right, so I guess piggybacking off the Scarface and also your football game, I guess I had to ask. So, what would be your favorite video game of all time? Or if you can't pick one, what's your top 5 favorite games?
Oh, best game ever, Red Dead Redemption.
Really?
Yeah. Red Dead Redemption. That was the first game that have you played Red Dead Redemption, right?
Yeah, I have. Well,
Okay.
I played a bit of it.
Oh,
I wasn't all too big on it, to be honest.
that game, the story reminded me a little bit of Outlaw Josie Wales. Basically, the Clint Eastwood, if you want to say the the trilogy in a way, but it's not a trilogy. You have Outlaw Josie Wales, you have Pale Rider, and then you have Unforgiven. And a lot of people consider Unforgiven one of basically almost his best movie ever. If you want to see three great westerns, and you being into film, I'm sure people have brought up the spaghetti western, things, fistful of dollars for a few dollars more. Probably one of the greatest movies ever made was The Good, Bad, and the Ugly with Lee Van Cleef in it. Red Dead Redemption took a lot of that and put it into, or Rockstar put a lot of that into Red Dead Redemption. And that's the first game that ever made me cry, shed a tear, I'll say. I wasn't bawling or anything, but when, spoiler alert, it's been out for 13 years or something like that.
No, yeah, I was trying to see the ending by now.
He gets killed. Marston gets killed. Sorry to tell you that, but it was there, and there is a song in that. He's crossing, I think it's the United States into Mexico, and all you're doing is you're just riding this horse. And the music, the song that is playing is just it's so soothing. It fits absolutely perfect into what is going on. And that's a thing that Darth and I are going to be doing a video on, is taking music, and when they put it to a certain scene in a movie or a game, how perfect is it? And there's a bunch of songs that work just with those scenes so perfectly. But that's what Red Dead Redemption was. See, that's the reason why I haven't played 2, because I'm like, okay, they're bringing a port of it or whatever it is to the PS5 or whatever you play on. So I'm going to wait for that. Then I'll go back and I'll play 2 and then 1, because I'm dying to go back and play the first one, technically, I guess, because was it Red Dead Revolver is a part of that trilogy or something like that, somebody was telling me. But yes, Red Dead would be the best game I ever played. Very close behind would be The Last of Us, the first one. Yes.
After hearing your speech about Scarface, I honestly thought that would be your favorite, but Red Dead over Scarface, huh?
Scarface, listen, Scarface, I'll say, is probably in my top 10 games of all time, but
not your top 5.
No, not top 5.
Fair enough. I mean, my personal favorite game, and it would probably be in my top 5 too, is Kingdom Hearts 2, because that game is what got me into gaming, and it is something I thoroughly enjoyed, story-wise, combat-wise, music-wise especially.
Well, I'm going to throw a shameless plug out there. If you actually want to see or even go into more of what my top video games are in that, go over to Initiate Swarm Protocol, and you can actually see that video. It's a 2-part video in there. So Darth and I, we put that together, I think it was last year or something like that. And yeah, Scarface was in there, Red Dead is in there, and Last of Us is in there. Not Last of Us Part 2. No, that's I had to go back and play that and take a look. But everybody's like, "Oh, this is what it's like."
Fair enough. Well, I guess coming off of your top 5 games, what would be your least favorite game or your most hated game that you couldn't really enjoy?
Oh my god. Oh. I don't. You know what? I don't know how to answer that. That's one question I could not find out how the hell to answer that. I mean, I don't like Apex Legends. I hate that game. I think it sucks. But
Because, like, for me, I kind of hated the original EA Battlefront coming off of the original Star Wars Battlefront 2. I just could not, like, really. I mean, it was fun for what it was, but it just did not hold a candle to the original games. So to this day, I kind of am pissed about EA, like, really abandoning it, like what made the mechanics of that series, you know. So that's a game I kind of hated.
I'm really stuck on that. I am really stuck on that because hated games. I'm not really too sure what. Listen, I'll say I've hated on games. Like, I am so close to platinum.
Okay, let me just rephrase this and try to make it more easy. Has there ever been a game that you actually regretted buying that you would want to, like, that you wanted to refund? Like, it was that bad that you couldn't really enjoy it that much.
I'm sure there is, but I just can't remember it. I can't remember what it could have been. Yeah. I'm not sure.
I guess I got you stumped there, huh?
Yeah, because now I'm gonna wind up thinking about that. I mean, I'm sure something's out there. I mean, I can name a ton of movies, but as for a game, oh man, that yeah, you got me on that one.
Well, I guess you could always come back to it later on. Then if you can ever come up with an answer, but I guess we could just move on then. So I guess coming off of gaming, what made you, like, what got you into this community? I guess, like, what made you want to start a YouTube channel related to gaming?
All right, here now you're going to get the juices flowing here, and Nelson is in the chat and RP is in the chat. I never started a channel for gaming. I did not want my channel, and as of right now, I do not want my channel being a part of where it's specifically for gaming.
Yeah, I remember when you first had me on your show, you didn't really start off on YouTube.
No. Started off, it was October 2020, I think it was. We just came back when all that COVID stuff was going on. All I was doing was listening to one podcast after another. Now, the year before, that's when I originally started listening to podcasts. I have never listened to a podcast until 2019. And I sat there, and E3 just got done. And I'm like, you know what? I haven't heard too much of what's going on with E3 because Spike TV, or no, not Spike TV. Yeah, Spike TV, that's where Jeff Keighley kind of got his start, was with Spike TV. He would do the interviews and everything. But G4, it went away. And that's where I would sit there and watch E3. And when they went away, which I think it might have been 2012, 2013, maybe even 2014, I'm not exactly sure. But I just totally lost any kind of thought of E3. And then 2019 came, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, what the hell is going on with gaming, man? I mean, yeah, I'm playing games, but it's like, you know, Star Wars Battlefront or Battlefield or Call of Duty. I'm just playing multiplayer. I'm not even getting into games like playing campaign and that. So I sat there and I popped up Randall Thor and Jez Gordon. And I'm like, oh, okay, let me check these guys out, you know, see what they say. And that's kind of the way the ball started rolling, was listening to them, Mooch and Crap, and RDX, Salty, Brap, and on, TXR, all these guys. I mean, probably like 50 shows. I've listened to you. I've listened to Big Cloud. Man, there's just way too much out there. But I never wanted the channel to be about gaming. Bushido and I was pestering the hell out of Bushido about doing a podcast in 2021. And he eventually sat there and said, all right, I'll do it. And originally, first, I think it was going to be where it was going to be once a month where we were going to do the show, because I didn't know exactly what was going to go on with my work schedule and everything. Then it became every other week. And that's how it originally started, was every other week we would do a Friday night show. We would only do about maybe an hour and a half. And then Retro came in, then Triple came in. We got those two guys. They came in as guests. I think I actually asked you, would you want to be, if I'm remembering right, I think I asked you about being a part of the panel, and this is when you were starting with your schooling and everything. So you're like, yeah, I can't really commit to it, which that's perfectly fine. But we've had you on plenty of times, so it's evens itself out. But we got Triple and Retro in there. Then Mr. Inferno came in, and then the Disruptor came in after that, and that was Weisel. But I do not want, and you know this, and I said this a couple weeks ago, I'm out of the podcasting thing right now. I just have to, because of family issues. It's just the way it is. If I would come back, and believe me, I've thought about it a lot, almost every day, about bringing it back. But if I do, it's going to have, it'll basically be the Order of Disorder, but it's not going to be a podcast. It's going to be more of a radio show, the way a radio show works. And 3-4 hours, maybe once a month, but it has to be, and I told Wise this, you have to have the right people in order to do this. That's the only way that this is going to work for me, if I have the right people to do this. Because the thing with the Order of Disorder, I can sit there and I can listen to that over and over and over again. I cannot listen to the Friday night show. I can't. It's boring to me, because I'm there, and I already listened to the stuff. This is horrible to say, but I'm just being honest with you. I just hate listening to that show, and I've listened to it, quite a few times Friday nights. It's just boring. It's totally boring, because there's nothing. It's not me. The Doomsayers Den is not me. Order of Disorder, that is me. I want my show to be like a Howard Stern show, a John DeBella show, Opie and Anthony kind of thing. I want it to have a raunchiness to it. It has to be funny.
Let's put a pin in that and save that for that other question I asked you, close to the last one. So yeah, I don't want you going all out on that rant there just yet. Okay. But yeah, so let's actually roll back to what you were talking about earlier about all the podcasts you were watching. So you said that you were watching like people like Randall Thor and Jez Gordon, right? So who was like your main inspiration for starting a gaming podcast? Because I remember when you were doing your own thing, you weren't really just talking about gaming. You were talking about other stuff too, especially with that Sunday show I believe you were doing too, with Kyle and what's her name?
Wait, say that again.
Well, I was practically trying to ask you who was your inspiration for doing a gaming podcast? Because now when you were streaming before, or doing the your shows, you weren't just talking about gaming. So I just want to know who was your inspiration for doing a specific gaming podcast.
Nobody.
Nobody. So you just
All those guys, and again, just being honest, I'm not trying to offend anybody, but everybody sounds exactly the same. There's no originality. No, everybody just copies each other. It's lame and it's a joke. Sorry, but it's a joke. I mean, listen, you had, okay, Howard Stern, when he sat there and when he was coming up and he was getting big and everything, you had a Don Imus, okay, that had a raunchiness to it, had an edginess to it. You had a John DeBella here in Philadelphia where he had that raunchiness to it and things like that. And there was probably other ones. You had Bubba the Love Sponge. He had an edginess to it, but there was nothing like Howard Stern. Howard Stern, when he sat there and said that he was the king of all media, he was the king. There was nobody. Maybe later on, you could sit there and say Opie and Anthony came in and did their thing. The thing with gaming podcast is they're all exactly the same thing. I got 3 questions for you. Let me get a panel together. Let me get everybody arguing and shouting, and nobody can hear anybody, and it's a joke. You got gaming podcasts out there that are so scared to sit there and get anybody with a difference of an opinion. And you can see it. RDX does it. Boom does it. I'm sorry, Callie, but you got me into a thing. But
you're good.
I
also,
listen,
I see Nelson Gaming there in the chat saying, "Why is this your guys' Stern?"
No, Wise ain't even close. Wise isn't close to a Jackie's Joke band. I'm sorry, Nelson. If you heard him last night, that was bad, and I told him about it last night. But Captain Howdy. That's another one too. Shit. Oh my God, I can't think. Captain Howdy actually. No, I'm wrong on that. Captain Howdy was actually Dee Snider's name in Strangeland, where he was the serial killer. But anyway, it's just these guys. They don't know how to innovate. It's like okay.
You see, I actually agree with you. That's kind of why I wanted to do my show. You know how I was having like both Xbox people and PlayStation people interact with each other. That's kind of why I wanted to do it, because I felt like you were listening to an echo chamber. There was podcasts that were just purely PlayStation or podcasts that were just purely Xbox. There was no in between. So it was like,
see, that's the problem with gaming podcasts, though. Nobody wants a difference of opinion. Okay, I remember a certain person was sitting there telling me that I lived. Okay, and I'm going to try and keep the names to an extreme minimum, Callie, because I don't want people coming after you. If they want to come after anybody, come after me, because I'll tell you how it is. But the thing is, a certain person, and you might know who I'm talking about, was sitting there DMing me months ago. I had a show on with Game Logic and David Faulkner on a Sunday, and I played another podcast questions, and they started going in saying, no, this is wrong, da 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 da. And then this person is telling me I'm living in an echo chamber. I live in a bubble. If anybody lives in a bubble, it's that person, because he has the exact same views as the person that he goes and he's on the show with. You're not sitting there and you're not debating about nothing. And that's the problem with these shows. They don't want to have a debate with nobody. They just want to live in a world where everything is perfectly fine with them and I'm better than you. And no, you're not. You're as sad as everybody else is. The thing is you want to sit there and you want to do a show and you want to do it differently. Here, I'll bring this up to you. Sound effects. Can you please tell me who was playing sound effects before I was? And this is my issue with the gaming podcast. But can you tell me who was playing sound effects before I was?
There was a few people that would do it. One person I know specifically that used to do that does it and that did it for a while was K Mega.
And he's been doing it since what? Before 2020?
Something like that.
He has, because I never heard any. I heard him play a baby's screaming voice or a baby crying on RDX, but I never on his show, and I've heard his show quite a few times, and I didn't hear any sound effects. The first person I ever heard was Jez 7780, and he did it lightly, to where, I took it to it.
He did it to a comedic level, though.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. When you sit there and you listen to my old shows through Spotify and Anchor and all that, I was originally doing the sound effects, and then I had my cousin do the soundboard. To this day, there is nobody, and I haven't heard anybody even come close to my cousin the way he could run a soundboard. He would sit there. Yes, there was moments that he would set things up, and then there were times he could literally, on a dime, play a clip from a movie that was going right into what we were sitting there talking about, and bar none, it's just the funniest damn thing. It's completely funny. So, but that's what I mean. You need the right people. Like, I've heard Fawn sitting there playing Beetlejuice on RDX, and I heard Mooch and Crap when they did their Sunday show that they were doing sound effects, but I really never heard anything, the clapping and that. And see, that's the thing that was different compared with the Order of Disorder. It just was totally different from everybody.
Yeah, definitely was. I mean, you even tried to be more comedic with your shows compared to everybody else too, especially with your Sunday show too.
I don't want the Sunday show. The Sunday show is not anywhere near serious at all.
No, yeah, and that's what I appreciated about it. That's why I'm actually kind of bummed that you haven't done it in a while.
You're not the only one. I have gotten a lot of complaints. The thing is, and this is a good question for you, so I'm going to turn it around on you. When you were doing your show, okay, how long did it sit there and take you to set up?
It took a while because I needed to look, because at first when I started it was just me, right?
Right.
Because I don't know if you remember at the beginning, I didn't really have like a panel. I was just kind of like talking about topics, just myself to the stream, and I would interact with viewers, but it was just mostly me. But later on, I would try to find guests for my show, but never just have panelists, because I didn't really promise anything, like if I would have panelists or like if I could get guests, because scheduling is always a conflict of issue sometimes. So it was always hard to work around, like with trying to find people who were available, what days they would be available. So
see, and people need to understand, when you're sitting there and you're doing doing podcasts is totally different from making videos. Videos, you can sit, and this is the thing with me. I would rather make videos because I could do videos on my time when I want to. There's no rush right now for it. The other channel, I got 24 videos set up for the start of January that I'm going to be finishing up and all that. When it comes to a podcast, when we were doing the Order of Disorder, I would get together with my sister at around 10 o'clock in the morning. We would go over, because all week we're sitting there and we're sending each other news articles, whether it was through Twitter or we were finding them through local news or CNN or whatever it is, and we would look at the articles, we would put them into a pile, and then on Saturday we would go through and pick, all right, these are the topics or the articles that we want to, go ahead, things like that. There's certain, like with the soundboard, you want to line up certain sound effects that go with those articles. Then you have the WTF stuff. There was a lot of soundboard things that needed to go together with that. It took about 3 hours to go over the news stuff. Then you have the pull list. Yeah, the comics. Yeah, the movies. Yeah, it's so much research and everything. And then come Sunday, I'm sitting there, at 9 o'clock in the morning, prepping everything up. The way the overlay is for the Order of Disorder, it was a great idea, but a moronic idea. Because when you would get guests, or when I would get guests, those guests had to be there 15 minutes early because I had to set things up into the little tiles that were going on. That's what Ham does. A couple weeks ago, I was supposed to be on Ham show, TSWS, but I didn't get in there until late, and it's too much of a struggle for him to, move tiles around in that. And I get that. It did not hurt my feelings. But when you're sitting there doing a show, it's not, some of these guys, they'll
do the basic layout. They'll have like a background screen, and then they'll also have like the Discord layout. But other than that, that's just about it. You were doing a lot of work having to like separate the icons from each other, putting them in like their own little layouts,
Right, and then I made, here, on, if you have a Stream Deck, you can go ahead and you can put MP4s. You can make videos for yourself. Put the MP4 on the Stream Deck. You hit the button, boom. I put that together. You go and you put, if you wanted to do transitions and things like that through scenes, cutting scenes and everything else. This is all stuff that I was going to wind up doing later on for the upcoming show, the new show, which was going to be back to the Order of Disorder, but it was going to be, there was going to be a difference with it. I was going to have it, like I said, more of that radio show. It just takes so much time when you sit there and you do, and that's another thing too. When I sit there and you look at a lot of these YouTubers out there that have these podcast and that, it doesn't seem like you throw any effort into the topics. I mean, seriously.
Well, when gaming podcasting is as competitive as it is, you really don't get that much variety, to be honest, when everyone's covering the same topics.
True. And see, that's the thing. Again, yes, I am a gamer. I'm not a hardcore gamer. I'm not a casual gamer. I'm just a gamer. But the thing is I'm more of a movie guy. I could sit there and I could tell you all day about movies, directors, producers, actors, the way things are shot and all that. Yeah, actors and everything else. I mean, I could throw movies out there that nobody has ever heard of in their life. That's my scene and that, okay? Now, I don't sit there and do what gamers do, and that's, worship companies. I mean, have you ever heard of anybody in the movie, somebody who sits here and watches movies, sit there and go, I refuse to watch, a Disney movie because Warner Brothers is so much better. No, but yet in the gaming community, you have that just idiots doing stuff like that. But that's the thing with the podcast. You got to make it to where people are interested, they're relaxed, and they're also entertained. And to me, I listen to one podcast a week. One. No offense to anybody out there. I just listen to one podcast a week because everything else is dull out there. Jay's in the chat, right?
Yep.
If you want to actually go over, Jay doesn't run a podcast. Jay just runs, basically it's a talk session. They just sit there and bullshit about whatever they want to. That's not a podcast. That is different than...
I see Jay in the chat going, minimal effort and maximum support, all because of the console war.
You know what? I'll save the question for a little bit later. But there was actually a question I wanted to ask you. But go ahead.
You can go ahead and ask it if you want.
Well, okay. So Jay sits there and he's saying something like that, and this is my question, and it goes. You know what? It goes out to everybody that's in the chat. Answer it, okay? Along with you, Callie. What is a gamer?
I'd say a gamer is someone that enjoys playing video games. Just plain and simple.
Plain and simple, right? It's just plain and simple. Somebody who enjoys playing Video games.
So that's what I call it myself. Because like, it doesn't matter what game, it doesn't matter where I play it, as long as I just play the video games, you know.
Right. And okay, Jay sits there and says we are the anti-podcast. Exactly right, because it's not a podcast. It's just a bullshit bullshit show. I'm not trying to make it sound like that. It's like I said, you get a bunch of guys together. I've been on it a couple of times in that. It's a great session to have. Excuse me. You just sit there and say, hey, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this. Listen, Jago, I was sitting there talking to him about horror movies. Tell me, what other podcast out there, from Salty to Brad to Mooch to whoever, is talking about horror movies? None of them are.
Nope. Because most of them just cover gaming topics.
Callie, can you give me 30 seconds?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, but while Doom's away, I guess I'll just say thank you for everybody who's coming by and supporting the stream. I really do appreciate it, as it's been a long time. And as if you guys can tell, I am trying to put a lot more effort into my streams. I made this entire background in Dreams. I am trying to do something more unique with having more style into my podcast and my shows. So yeah.
All right, I'm back, but yeah, see, a gamer to me is exactly what you sat there and said. A gamer, I just play games. I don't care where it is. If it's on Xbox, I'll play it there. If it's on Nintendo, there. I'll PlayStation, there. Wherever. I don't care where I play it. But
you shouldn't. That's the thing.
Right. The thing is why I just don't understand. And this is one of your questions goes, about like with the community in that. This community is a garbage community. I mean, they are. I have never heard men in their 30s, 40s, and 50s act like my son who's 7. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
You have, a guy like, sorry, but, and I don't want anybody to sit there and tell me, oh, he's joking. Nah, you're joking. But a guy like Tim Dog sitting there, and I saw some of his tweets after the ABK thing. It's like, dude, seriously, grow up. This other guy, this Perlez guy, all he does is tweet all damn day about, frames and what. Dude, do yourself a favor. You ain't a gamer, dude. Get out of here.
I guess that actually leads into one of my most important questions that I kind of came up with was like, what do you like? Do you have any regrets like since doing YouTube? Like, because I know you've complained about a lot of people that you watched and like that are in this community, because like there's a lot of people that just are, there's a lot of people that are pricks, to be honest. Like, if you disagree with them, or like if you don't accept their opinions, they'll block you, or
right.
if you even step out of line, they'll fucking block you.
Jez Gordon has me blocked because of a question. Then Jez Gordon goes on about 4 months ago. No, might have been 5 months ago, and sits there and he is a bold-faced liar himself. Okay, he's sitting there and telling the chat and the people that are listening that Callisto Protocol is nothing like Dead Space. There is nothing in that game that reminds you of Dead Space. When you see the character, okay, in Callisto Protocol, he walks exactly like Isaac Clarke in Dead Space. That is your community. Liars, ignorant people that sit there and claim that they are financial analysts, claim that they're devs. This Kirby Louise guy is going around saying that these developers are wrong and he's right. Shut up. You don't have a clue as to what you're talking about, but the sad thing is this community will follow a person, a disingenuous person like that. It's just like Jay sitting there and saying this. Grown men fighting over plastic. Again, let me say this to people that are listening now or listening later. You tell me one form of entertainment out there, movies, music, comics, okay, that off the top of my head, you tell me all the fans out there, do they worship these companies? Do you see a Disney worshiper? Sure, you can have your Marvel and DC, back and forth, but it don't go the way gaming goes. It's not even close to what gaming is. Gaming has gotten ridiculous. I've seen people pulling guns on people and saying, all kinds of racist crap. And the community is a joke. And the community is never going to be taken seriously because you have people that are jokes. I mean, somebody that sat there. I had Loke freaking out on me a couple weeks ago because I called out somebody that was on Ham's show. I'm not going to say his name, but he sat there and said that Sony should have a VR subscription. And it's like, dude, if you played PlayStation, you know that they've had VR games in their subscription service. But see, you don't play PlayStation, but yet you go out and put a false narrative out for your followers to give you more likes and subs, and also to give you more thing. The thing with gaming, with the gaming podcast, why these people are so disingenuous is because of this. Because it's about money. What was it? It was yesterday or the day before. This Perlez guy goes out and he puts a video out of Colt Eastwood, and Colt Eastwood saying about there's going to be a new Xbox in that. This Perlez guy is such a dumbass, because the thing is, the more views that Colt Eastwood gets, the more money he makes, because it's a monetized video. So then his sub count goes up. And if you actually watch the video, he has a Patreon. You don't think guys like Colt Eastwood, Salty, Mystic Ryan, I just canceled my Mystic Ryan Patreon. I've been a Patreon member since 2018 with him. Okay, he puts out really good PlayStation videos. It's not about console shit. He gives you, here it is. Here's the news. Here's what he thinks. And that's it. But you're going and giving these guys more publicity. You think you're making fun of them. No, it's you, the idiot, that is sitting there thinking that you're making them look stupid, but it's them. It's Colt Eastwood making you look stupid because you're putting more money into his pockets.
I think Graphics Guy put it good in chat when he said that it's the people that follow in droves, that follow these disingenuous people.
Right. It is. Listen, it's all about and Jay, I'm almost guaranteed Jay would sit there and agree with this. Okay? He did, what was it, about a month or two ago, Jay, that you went and you did King David's Hold the Line. People get pissed off at King David, okay, and say, man, why'd he say this? Why'd he say that? Why did King David say that? It's because it's a business deal. It's about business. He goes and he says, hold the line. Jay goes, makes the graphics up. Jay goes and puts it on T-shirts, mugs, CDs. I'm just throwing all this stuff out there. Wise is a perfect example. Wise buys everything Iron Lords.
You're telling me that Wise is one of those fans that buys all the merchandise from Iron Lords?
Yes. Listen, he's shown the little computer pillow that Iron Lords has with the Iron Lords insignia and everything on it. Okay? King is one smart MF. Okay? He will say whatever he needs to say to sell more shirts, more coffee mugs, gloves, pants, sweatshirts, sweatpants, everything. If there is a tattoo out there, he probably gets a cut of it. Okay? To wherever it lands, it's a business. That is what Colt does. That is what Boomstick does, and RDX does, or Dealer does, and Salty does, and these guys that have 20, 25 million. Perfect example, Reforge Gaming. Everybody's been hearing him lately.
Oh, yes, definitely.
You've watched his show. I'm sure you have, right?
I mean, I caught a few of his clips on Twitter, but I don't really watch him, to be honest.
Why? Listen, the man sits there, does a 30 to 45 minute monologue. Right after he's done with that, he starts on Reforge Roast. Here's my...
He has different brands.
Right. Then he has a count of subscribers going in and, yo, sub to this. Yo, we got a new person coming in today. We got 100, somebody went and bought 100 people, a subscription and all that stuff. It's a business because that's all they have.
Yep.
And they need to push it. Me, on the other hand, I don't need to push it. Again, I'm not here for your likes and your subs and things like that. The Order of Disorder made me happy because I was able to do what I wanted to do. And that was have a joke. Sure, there were things I would sit there and bitch about, but in the end, it's all about having a good time and a joke. And if you can't sit there and have that, get out.
So would you say that? So would you say that would be like your regret? Is that like going away from the Order of Disorder? Like you weren't having fun with it, like doing your podcast.
I want to say this right to Jay. No, Jay, you didn't made poor career choices. You just got with two people. One who's absolutely despicable, and the other one, I'm not going to say too much more, but that's what happens when you go and you trust people. And I'm right there with Jay. You've trusted too many people, and what happens is they shove it up your rear whenever they get a chance. So
well, that's why I don't really trust. That's why I don't really trust too many. Like the people I do trust, I know I can depend on. I know I can trust you, and I know I can trust BitCloud. Like those people that are like don't really care about all this bullshit,
Right, but the thing is with Bit, I do think there's a little bit of, and I've heard him on. I can't remember what the hell show it was. It was King and Lord Attic had a show going on, and Bit and Hustle and Motivate were on there. And some of the things that Bit was sitting there saying, it was like, people are going to take this and they're going to run with this as you are an Xbox person. This is the whole reason why I don't interact as much anymore on Twitter.
Yeah.
Is because everybody will sit there and say, no, you're a pony or you're a bot. First of all, let me say this. If you are sitting there and you are looking at people and seeing what they're saying and you're saying, oh, that's a pony or that's a bot, do yourself a favor. Get off of Twitter and grow up, because you don't need to be saying ignorant, stupid things like that. And if the person is calling you that, and you do that to them, both of you are wrong, and both of you need to grow up. Listen, I'm not going to sit there and say I never used that. Yes, I have in the past when I was starting to get into this community. But then it's like, well, I'm 40-some years old, man. Grow up. Looking at myself in the mirror, grow up. What are you doing? So that's why I don't engage. Plus, people on Twitter have not a clue as what a question is, even when there is a question mark at the end of the question, of the sentence. They still can't tell that it's a question. I gave up on that. There is so much stuff I would love to go after or say to people, but it's like, is it worth it? No, it's not.
Yeah,
It's
no, it just causes more drama in this community, to be
right,
honest.
right.
I kind of learned that, to be honest. Like, in my early days of doing YouTube, I wasn't afraid to call people out, but I kind of, like, once I started collabing more, I kind of realized I can't do both, because then it just causes drama.
Yeah, and it's so much more stress onto you.
Yeah.
There's listen, last year, this whole thing that was you remember when PlayStation, what was it? It was either July or August. PlayStation came out and sat there and said, we are going to up our prices in all of these regions except for the United States and somewhere else, I think, right?
Yep.
Okay. I have another account that you know of, Jay knows of, okay? I went on to the other account because another YouTuber has me blocked on the Doom's Twitter account. So I went on to that account, and I'm sitting there and I'm scrolling, and this person comes out and says, oh my God, what are we going to do? PlayStation is upping their prices. How about the families that sit there and they're going out and they can't afford a PlayStation no more because they upped the prices? This is ridiculous and da 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 da. So I sat there and was like, you know what? I'm going to respond to this. And I sat there and I said to the person, hey, first of all, if a family is in that much of need of money, they ain't looking at an Xbox or a PlayStation because they don't give a crap. They're caring about what food, if dinner's going to be served tonight, if I'm going to have enough money to pay my electric, mortgage, heat, everything else, my water bills, my taxes, am I going to have enough money to put clothes on my kid's back? And this person sat there and argued with me about it. This man is in his 50s. But he sat there and took that comment and acted like a 16 or 17-year-old child. That is the reason why I don't want to go and have a conversation. And one of his podcast people came in and started arguing with me even more. And it's like, you guys are so effing clueless. It is sad. I feel bad for both of you because you guys being as old as both of you are, okay? One, yes, he's married but doesn't have kids. Maybe that's the reason why. And I'm not putting nobody down. He doesn't have kids, so he doesn't know what it's like to buy diapers every week and formula and food and have to sit there and buy shoes 3 times a year for your kids for school. Paper, pencils. We just spent over $100 on school supplies last week for my son. And most of that school supplies is for the school. Not my son, but for the school. But he's sitting there making an argument about this. It's like, dude, you've lost all of reality. You have totally lost all of reality. And I have had nothing but a problem with this man because he spreads so much lies. Everything that comes out of his mouth is lies. And another YouTuber gave me crap about that and even DM'd me and sat there and said, how could you sit there and do this to my brother? And it's like, dude, you seriously really need to start getting better friends. But then it goes all the way back into it's about money.
All right.
He does it because he has no other financial income coming in besides whatever his retirement is.
So I guess I should lead us into the next question of, since you talked about how like a lot of YouTubers in this gaming community have practically made podcasting about business, I just want to like get your thoughts about like where gaming is like overall, because I think that's kind of also an important question. Like, do you think it's in a worse place than it's ever been, or do you think it's in a better place?
Worst place. As I said, you were on Wise's show last night. What did I say last night?
You weren't really on board with like recent gaming. You just didn't
No,
like it.
it's a joke. It's as much of a joke as movies are today.
Yeah.
And TV shows, they're horrible. They're all horrible because nobody is original. Just like gaming podcasts. Gaming podcasts are a joke because nobody is original. You had one person come up with an idea and everybody else follows.
Yep.
You're not original.
Yep.
Not-
Especially with video
not-
games too. A lot of video game companies also steal each other's like plans. Like they'll copy each other.
It's just like the NFL. The NFL sits there and goes, "Hey, man, New England sat here and won 3 championships in a row. So every team in the NFL will go and they'll mimic or try to mimic their playbook, whether it's defense. They won with defense. They won with offense. They'll start stealing. Hey, this guy here for New England, he's a great defensive coordinator. We'll bring him over here to the Detroit Lions. Now the Detroit Lions have had 3 losing seasons. They've won 1 game. It's like, no, it's it's a copycat league. It's a total copycat. Everybody copies everybody. The Order of Disorder is a copy of Howard Stern's News Hour mixed in with a couple of other things. That is a stone-faced copy of Howard Stern's news because nobody has done news like him. As for gaming, it's a joke. It's a total joke. You expect me, and this is where, people are going to get upset with what I got to sit here and say. $70, listen, there has never been a game, and you could tell me till you're blue in the face and you pass the hell out, there has never been a game and never will be a game that can sit there and tell me, make sure you listen, me. I ain't speaking for you or anybody else in the chat or nobody, but me, that is worth 60, 70, 80, 30, whatever it is. MSRP, when it first comes out, is not me worth that money. Listen. Wait till it goes into bargain bin. I ain't speaking Star Wars Fallen Survivor or nobody. Been out since what? March, April. They went and they said, "Hey, we need more time." They took more time, and it's still a junk product because it's EA. EA is a joke of a publisher because they care. They're going back to the old EA ways. They care about money. They don't care about the consumer. A majority, I will say a majority of publishers are like that. You look at Call of Duty. When I got into Call of Duty, which was back in 2007, 2008, 2009, I think it was even 2010, you didn't get no update first day of the game. But ever since then, it's, gotta have an update. Why?
Not to mention that update can also be as big as the game.
Exactly. Or it can wind up screwing the game up even more. So it's all about money. Nobody cares about the consumer. So that's me sitting there saying, I don't give a crap about your product. I'll wait until it's in Best Buy's bargain bin or the bargain bin at Walmart or Target. That's how much I care about your product. Now, do not get me wrong. I have bought games, okay, day one, collector's editions. I bought the Spider-Man. I bought the Callisto Protocol, Dead Space, and God of War. I bought those, but I still haven't played Dead Space yet. I've had that game since it first came out. I still haven't played it yet. God of War, I played 2 hours of it. That's all that I've put into it. Callisto Protocol, 2 hours into it. Still haven't finished it. Because they did their fixes as the game came out. It was a joke, had issues. Why am I going to go through that crap? I'm not. I'll wait until your game is 100% totally fixed and finished. Then I'll enjoy your game. And that's the way, in all honesty, that's the way they should do reviews. Wasn't what the hell's the zombie game that's on PlayStation?
Which one?
Days Gone. Days Gone.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever played that?
Me? No, not personally.
Okay. I had the game. I actually bought the collector's edition. The collector's edition was on sale from Amazon a couple years ago. It was a $200 system. I got it for $68. Everything in the collector's edition. I sat there. That game probably would have done a lot better if it was actually fixed. But when you put it out totally broken in that, well, it deserves what it deserves. You know, Cyberpunk. I sat there and I told a guy I used to work with. And he's like, aren't you getting Cyberpunk? I'm like, nope. He's like, why not? I says, because, you know, just hearing a couple of things I don't want to, I'm not going to invest the money in. It comes out, it's all broken and everything. 3 months later, I got it for $10 at a bargain bin for Best Buy. I'm like, I'll wait until they fix it. Then I'll go back and play it. That's one of my most anticipated games for next year's. You know, because all the DLC and everything, I'll have it all, and I could play it all at one time. I don't have to worry about anything. So, but it's a joke. Everything's a joke anymore.
Fair enough. I mean, like, yeah. I mean, there are aspects of gaming I still love, like indies. Like, they practically are what saved gaming for me, because like AAA is just kind of garbage now with how they release broken games, and they have to release these big updates just to patch the games. But I think indies are very unique still. They still try different things. They aren't afraid to be experimental, and not to mention, no one really talks about indie games in the podcast space. I mean, sure, a few people do, but like most people just talk about AAA games and try to bash the bigger games against each other. Like, you know, like Forza versus GT, Gran Turismo.
Well, you know what? I totally agree with you on that, Callie. Indie games, I sat there and said this year, back in January, I'm like, I'm going to complete 50 games. What is it? Have 50 platinums, 500 gold, blah, 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 right? So I sat there and was like, all right, let me start doing this. I've played, I'm going to say, I think 28 games so far. So I'm over halfway there. Out of that 28 games, I'm going to say probably about 10 have been AAA games. The rest have been indies. Guns, Gore, and Cannolis. Really good game. Very good game. Side-scrolling game in that. You know, you are a gangster going after another gangster, but in, you know, a zombie apocalypse going on. Great game. Suicide Guy. Great game. First person, you know, perspective, doing all this crazy crap and whatever. Let me see here. There's actually I'm trying to think what other games I could actually throw out there, because you're exactly right. Nobody sits there and throws out any indie games. It's like, you know, what the hell? Full Blast. Side scroller, you know, kind of like a, what the hell was it? Like a, not a Centipede, but a side scroller shooter, or no, top down shooter, plane shooter going around destroying all kinds of things. You also have, what was it? What the hell? I'm trying to think of the other one. Oh, I played My Friend Peppa Pig. I platinumed that, so that was very good. So
I can't believe I actually plot that game.
I did play that game because my son was interested, and I'm like, here, Daddy will go ahead and play the game. Okay. SpongeBob game. No, SpongeBob was a good game, though. SpongeBob, I'm going to sit there and say, was a very good game. I enjoyed the hell out of it. But I'm like, listen, I says, here, Daddy's going to play it, right? Because it came into, was it the PS Plus thing or whatever, the service. I was like, all right, I'm going to play this. I was like, I mean, Peppa Pig ain't a great game. If I did say it was a good game, no, it's a crappy game, but I got a platinum out of it. So, but I'm on a roll. I'm going to platinum Infamous, like tomorrow.
See, I'm kind of having a problem right now because, you know, I'm into retro gaming right now. So let's just say I've been playing a lot of PS3 games, and I haven't exactly been completing them as frequently. So.
Well, last year, even all the way up to this year, I was buying nothing but PlayStation 3 games. I bought Duke Nukem Forever. I bought.
Ooh, I feel bad for your purchase there.
I played that game when it first came out. I'm like, this is great, man. I gotta replay it. Not a lot of people sat there and said that they really enjoyed it. And that Devil Shooter Second Son, I have yet to play that, but I will be playing that. I'm actually going back and playing a lot of older games, like you were saying, Callie, about retro gaming. I bought Fracture, Lollipop Chainsaw, which I can't play because it doesn't play.
I've actually been looking at playing Fractured. How is it?
I wanted to play it, but I'm like, wait a minute, where the hell are all the trophies at? There's no trophies. There's achievements, but there's no trophies.
Oh, that might have been a game that released pre-trophy support because Sony didn't release trophy support until later on in the PS3 cycle.
But here's the thing, Metal Gear Solid 4, there's trophy support, and originally there was no trophy support for it. It's like, what the hell?
I think it was up to the developers and publishers to actually add in trophy support later, but some just didn't want to.
That's what I was told, and I've been on a trophy, like I said, a trophy kick. It's 50 platinums. I wanted to.
When I found out Web of Shadows didn't have trophies, I was kind of bummed.
Yeah, it's like Assassin's Creed. I'm like, I tried playing that twice. The very first Assassin's Creed, I have tried playing that twice, and just could not do it. I went and I bought the PS3 version of it. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna dive right into this. I'm like, wait a minute, there's no trophies. Where the hell are the trophies at? How the hell do you not have trophies?
It's like, there's none. What are you talking about?
Right. It's like Resistance. I want to go back and play the first Resistance. Sony hasn't given Resistance any trophy support. Get out there, give me some damn trophy support, man.
Yep.
What the hell are you for? But that's the thing. And then to me, a gamer doesn't give a crap about all the nonsense that is on Twitter. To me, I think you would sit there and you would actually, challenge yourself. It's like, I want to sit there and I want to play Xbox for a whole year and I want to get to 100,000 gamer score in 1 year. And I know I can wind up doing it because there's a lot of games out there that'll give you an easy 1,000. I know that for a fact. I have actually sat there and studied this. It's just I got to buy them because they're not on Game Pass. But you just got to, that's why I'm glad achievements and trophies have been in there. Thank you, Xbox. In there because it challenges you with the game. When people sit there and say one and done games, no. If every game is a one and done game. Do not tell me that Sony puts out one and done games. No, every game is one and done. Just because it has multiplayer to it does not mean that you want to play multiplayer in it. I don't play Call of Duty multiplayer anymore, Battlefield multiplayer anymore. So those games technically are one and done. That Sony puts out one and done. See, that's the ignorance in people, and going back to people sitting there and that they're dying to be a part of a crowd, a part of an ecosystem that they could sit there and say, I'm better than you. That's all this is. It's not about, they're not gamers. They just want to be better than you. And that's a sad thing. And I feel bad for them.
Sorry, just give me a second. I was doing something, but yeah. I guess we should probably wrap things up since we're down to the last question here. So,
okay.
My last question.
I'll try to make it as short as possible.
So my last question for you is: Have you enjoyed your journey on YouTube and doing your own channel and doing your own stuff, or have you not really enjoyed doing YouTube?
I've enjoyed it. There's
definitely things that you regret or that you dislike about doing YouTube.
I don't regret anything with doing anything with YouTube. There's been a couple of times where I've regretted things that I said,
Yeah.
but it has nothing to do with YouTube. The thing
Fair
with
enough.
YouTube is, and people need to understand, when you sit there and say, man, I'm going to go and create a podcast, just like we were sitting there and we were saying before, it is a lot of work. It was fun at the beginning, and it just got to where it was starting to be way too much work. And again, if you don't have the right people with you to be able to handle some things, on the side or whatever and that kind of thing, it can wind up wearing on you. And that's not I'm not sitting there and saying anything bad about my panel, because here's the thing. I've never asked them to do anything for me. The problem with me is I guess it's like a control freak thing. I got to make sure I do everything myself, because I don't know what it is, but I just do everything myself, and I don't pass it out. If you're going to do this, get the right people to help you, because that help is going to go a long way. A long, long way for you.
Definitely. It's not as easy as some people think it is to start a podcast. You definitely need help doing it.
I'll say this, and I'm going to throw this to you. If you really want to start a YouTube channel, the best thing I could tell you to do first is make videos. Get comfortable with a microphone, a really good microphone, a really good system to where you can record on. People out there, they can go and hit you up. I started on iMovie, and then I moved over to DaVinci Resolve. There's other people with Adobe and other ones. There's I forget the Apple one, the Pro thing. But I would start doing videos first to get you comfortable with speaking into a microphone and things like that. Callie, as you know, I can't shut the hell up, so I'm perfect when it comes to them.
No, definitely.
But and Retro even sat there and said that, shout out to Retro and that. He's like, you have the gift of gab. Yes, I do. But start on videos. Then work your way up, that if you want to sit there and you want to do podcasts. Now, if you can sit there and you could talk like Jez does, where he doesn't need anybody, he could just go on and on too.
Oh, yeah, he could definitely go on by himself.
Yeah, he doesn't need anybody. The thing with Jez is, and I've had a couple of times where I've been on Woolie's podcast to where he's jumped in that, and I always wanted to meet him. Like I said again, I just don't do the podcast anymore. Jez got to let the Halo thing go, man. You just got it, because every week Halo, it's like, I can go maybe a month with that, and then you got to get something else. You got to talk about something else. But that is gaming, and it is what it is, Be original. Just be original.
So, have you enjoyed the video editing aspect of it, too? Because I know you got into that.
Love it. There's things on there. Like I said, and when I was sitting there telling you, the way that Darth and I, and I'll shout this out towards the end, the way Darth and I have our videos set up, it's not about, he does not want to, which I totally agree with him on this, because I think it's more important to do it this way. When you sit there and you put all kinds of transitions and effects and things going on into the background, and it's all that eye candy, people start to miss out on what you're saying. With us, it's as raw as it can wind up getting. It's plain Jane. There's people out there that aren't going to like it. Callie, you might be one of them. It's like, God damn, dude, can you, spice it up a little bit, something like that.
Well, I have a different style, so that's just me.
But see, that exactly what you sat there and said. It's your style. So you keep your style, because that is what's going to make you. You got to make your own imprint in this. You got to be original, to yourself, or you're just going to wind up losing it. With Darth and I, it's, this is the way it is. It's raw. It's, you're getting it. It's straight to the point. We ain't, going all these circles. We want to get the talk, and that is the way it is. And I prefer it that way, to be honest with you, because I can actually do the videos quicker. I am getting the video processing quicker because I've seen you on your Twitter, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, oh my God, this kid is fucking giving me a headache with this shit that he's doing. Oh my God. You're doing everything with sound levels and music, and you're changing up color palettes and things like that, and how you're arranging everything. I go in there and boom, here's the sound. Let me throw the intros together, and then I'll throw all the pictures on top of it. I throw it to Darth, and Darth goes, perfect. Let's get it out. We have a Majora's Mask one coming up. This is my defining moment with him, because he's like, Doom, I want this to be perfect. And I'm like, I still haven't gotten to the video yet. I'm like, I'm actually scared to make this video because he wants it perfect. And I'm going to tell you what, there are pictures in there and video in there. It is incredible. And I'm just afraid to touch it, man. I'm just really afraid to touch it. I don't want to mess it up for him. This is like his crown jewel, But I love that. I love it. It's fun. You're a creator. You know it, Callie. The whole.
I'm a creator by heart. I mean, you've seen the stuff I've created, even in dreams and like my video editing. I just take passion in what I do.
And that is the beautiful thing in that. I've sat there. If Jay's still in listening into that. Jay's one, when you sit there and you love your work, okay, you sit there and it shows. When you take that time to sit down, and I've had to do this myself. You know this too. You might be taking classes, but I couldn't tell you how many damn videos I've had to watch on DaVinci Resolve.
I believe you. I believe you.
Here, I'm going to tell you this. I did not know there was cropping in video until I watched the DaVinci Resolve. I'm like, oh my God, there's cropping. I can crop something now. Now I can steal people's videos and crop their little names out. This is awesome.
That's what I did for a little bit, like when it came to like borrowing clips from other people.
Well, now it's like we're doing hardest videos. I'm starting that on Monday. A lot of the game footage that I got is from Nintendo Complete. I think the guy's name is. So I'm going to make sure in the description that I do. Hey, make sure you check this guy's channel out, this person's channel out. All that stuff, because I don't want to be sitting there ripping him off. I've actually DM'd him twice, and he is not, or I should say, the person has not gotten back to me yet. So I'm trying to sit there and be, hey, dude, I want to borrow, like maybe 2 minutes of your video. I'll plaster all your stuff over here, but just no answer. No answer. So.
Yeah, I'm trying to collaborate too right now. Where I have a cousin that actually is doing like vlogging, so he kind of wants me to edit for him, which like you said, like your style, like my style is very different, like compared to yours, where yours is more like just raw, right? Raw footage.
Yeah.
His is kind of similar like that, but except I'm gonna be trying a totally different approach when it comes to editing for his work. So, yeah.
See, and the thing is I just bought a $900 camera. Mr. Wizard, a buddy of mine, he's like, listen, he says, if you don't want to be spending, $2,000, $2,500, $3,500, because he's a photographer. He's like, if you want the best of the best, this is what you got to buy. I'm like, dude, I don't got that money. Are you crazy? What can I get for, this much? So I bought a Canon. I gave it to Darth. I'm like, listen, take all these pictures, because we have videos coming up of video art books and all the art books that he has. So he already gave me, just on Assassin's Creed alone, is 237 pictures of just Assassin's Creed. And it's like, oh my God, I gotta edit every one of these pictures down. it's just a lot of work, but taking that camera, like you were saying, the vlog, if you had the right equipment, it'll make things shine for you. I know that. I've spent probably about $3,000 over the last year buying stuff to make the pictures look better and the video looking better. So
Oh no, same here. Same here.
it gets expensive. This shit gets expensive.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
I mean, if anybody's out there, Salty has sat there and said a couple of times I've been on the show, hey, you sound so great. I got a Rodecaster pod mic and I have a Rodecaster.
I was actually talking to Adam about this, about like having similar equipment to you, because I actually like your microphone, but it's expensive, and your audio setup too. What's it called? Is it the Rodecaster or what? Whatever you use for your sound effects too.
The Rodecaster Pro 2. Well, see, the thing is, my buddy Mr. Wizard, before I started all this, he's like, he says, this is what you are going to need to start your podcast. And I looked at him and I said, are you out of your mind? $600 for this? And that was the Rodecaster Pro, the first one. He's like, I'm going to tell you, I swear to God, buy this. You will not regret it. And it's the best purchase I've ever made. The best.
Yep.
Because it does everything for you. That was the Rodecaster. The Rodecaster Pro 2, it goes way further. You could do all your editing, all your sound effects. You can have two Discords running or two computers running at the same time with different things. Like if I sat there and said, yo, Callie, come over to the house. I'm going to have you run Discord off the laptop, and I'm going to have it go into the Rodecaster here. You can have everything that you want to set up on your own laptop or computer, run that in, and I can run everything off of my stuff into the Rodecaster. And it's just like a radio show. It's perfect.
Yeah, well, I'm looking into buying that, to be honest. But after calculating how much it would cost, me and Adam kind of figured out a cheaper solution instead of buying exactly what you have.
Hey, that's the power of a credit card.
But anyways, I guess since that's all the questions we have, I guess we should start wrapping up.
Okay.
Yeah, so let everyone know where they can find you at, for those of my subscribers that don't know who you are and haven't subscribed to you.
Well, you can, if you want to, it's entirely up to you. You can go over to Doomsayers Network YouTube channel. If you want to subscribe, I'm just letting you know right now, there's not going to be anything coming over to that channel for a while right now. Like I said at the beginning of the show, a little bit of family health issues going on here. I got to make sure all that's done. If you want to follow me on Twitter, there's two places I would love for people in the chat, if you haven't already subscribed or followed. Doomsayers Network on Twitter. It's Doomsayers Net NW1 on Twitter. The other Twitter profile is Initiate Swarm Protocol. That one there, that I will pump up on Callie's show. Go over. We have our own channel. It's called Initiate Swarm Protocol. We only do strictly videos over there. We have videos on Todd McFarlane's they're toys. I get it. I look at them more as, they're adult toys, not in that adult way.
I'm about to say.
I can't stop buying the damn things, man. I just bought 4 more, for crying out loud. It's like, oh, man, and I got 3 more coming in the mail. But anyway, Todd McFarlane, we do old TV shows, Pirates of Darkwater. We've done Dinosaurs Attacks, Tomb Raider statue. The videos that we got coming out are Garbage Pail Kids, Ultraman, hardest video games ever, the best movies that we think have come out.
You know what you should do? Just here's a recommendation. I'd actually love to see like a Transformers toy review or something like that.
You don't have to worry. We got one coming up with Optimus Prime. My buddy, the Optimus Prime that transforms himself. We have Transformers the movie, the original movie, not the Michael Bay movies, the one back in '86. We're going to be doing a video on that. We're going to be doing a video on G.I. Joe, the movie, because I heard, what was it, the last Transformers movie, the Beast movies, they actually intertwine G.I. Joe and Transformers, which, you know, there was actually a Transformers episode back in the 80s that had the G.I. Joes in it. So we're going to cover that. Balrog statue, Alucard statue. If anybody doesn't know, that's from Castlevania, because Darth is probably one of the biggest Castlevania fans I've ever seen in my life. Thundar, Herculoids, a bunch of crap. Go over, check that channel out. I appreciate the subscribe on that. Those videos will not be going out until the very beginning of next year, because we're going to roll out about 8 months worth of videos while we get the next 8 to 10 months settled in that. It just works out better for me that way. So, but that's it. I got nothing else to promote. Oh, wait a minute. Make sure you watch what the hell is Wise's Friday night show? What's it called? The WWWWW, the W show?
Something like that.
I
didn't really pay attention to the name, to be honest.
Check out Wise's show at 6:30. Wise, I'm only joking with you. It's called Wasted with Wise. If Wise, you know.
It's the WWE podcast.
Exactly. But that's about it. That's all I got to promote. I don't like being noticed all that much, but give the Initiate Swarm Protocol channel a lot of love and that. We bust our ass for that, and we will have a bunch of stuff. Wasted with Wise, RP is right there with that. Wasted with Wise. I'm sure RP will be joining them very shortly. Very shortly.
And just to let my subscribers know, and everyone that does follow me after this show, I am starting a Patreon because I'm currently a little bit low on funds in terms of trying to actually keep buying PS3 games, because retro gaming is very expensive. So my plan with my Patreon is to actually make content for my channel. So for whoever subscribes can actually help pick out what game I buy next. And for every game I pick out for the Patreon, I will do videos on my YouTube channel. So again, for anyone that wants to support me, I will be posting the link in the description after the stream uploads. So yeah. Again, that's for anyone who wants to support. But thank you.
Yo, Devil Shooter. Yo, man, thank you very much. I appreciate you saying great show. You probably wanted to listen more to Callie than me, but that's okay. I'm fine with that. So I'm married with the same woman for 15 years. Believe me, can't get any worse than what that is. Honey, if you're out there, I still love you. Maybe.
Yeah,
but
it's been fun having you on, and hope you guys enjoy your day and have a great weekend. And
yeah, give the guys some likes and subs, man. Get them up to that 500 so you can start getting monetized.
I know. I'm trying to. It's going to be a slow grind again to try to get my algorithm up again.
Out there, yeah, I know that. That's. But boy. Okay.
Yeah. Enjoy you guys' weekend. Hope you guys enjoy the show. And tune in for the next time. I will be having Big Cloud onto this show.
Man. Get them up to that 500 so you can start
getting monetized. I know.
Have a good one, everybody.